The heroin market in the U.S. reaches $43 billion per year. And believe it or not, it all started with the Sicilian Mafia. Today, is a collaboration between Mobsters Inc. and Armchair MBA. Hello, Tom Levecchio here with the latest edition of Mobsters Inc., as well as collaboration with the Armchair NBA. For those that have seen the Narco Wars, Season 3, Episode 3, Chasing the Dragon, Sons of Italy, Chasing the Dragon, talking about the Sicilian heroin pipeline, also the Pizza Connection case, the Mujahideen tie-in. We'll be covering all that today, and it featured only one ex-mafiosi, Frank Fiordilino. Welcome to
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
All right, so we're gonna jump right
well, it's afternoon by you, right? Yeah,
exactly. But we're gonna jump right in. Okay, so there was a mafia war in Sicily. The Corleonesi basically took charge. They knocked everyone out of the box, and that was led by none other than
Fiordilino. Yeah, that's right.
Why don't you give a little backstory there?
Okay, there was at one time there was 3 bosses that run the panel in Sicily. This is in the 70s. There was Fiordilino. There was Badalamenti, Gaetano Badalamenti, and the other guy from Palermo. What the hell is his name?
Salvatore Inzarello.
But no, Bontante.
Serafino Bontante. My bad.
Yeah. See, I get them mixed up.
Yeah.
So one day they decided we don't want to share our money with these guys no more. The Corleones. We want the political end, the livestock. We want the construction end, the Badalamenti, and we want the drugs.
Correct.
That the Palermo faction circulates all over the world,
worldwide,
especially the heroin. Correct. And a war breaks out spontaneously. People start hitting the ground. New guards come down, and this war lasts close to about 12 years.
Wow,
that's right. And a lot of blood. There were maybe close to about 1,000 bodies by the time it was all over.
Okay, now this is important because it gives some even bigger backstory context.
Sure.
The French connection, which the stuff was from Turkey to Marseille, right?
Through Syria through Beirut, Marseille.
That's it, Marseille. And then the Sicilians still controlled it, and it was a $1 billion market back then. And that's what basically Corleonesi were fighting for, kind of the post-French connection, making it the Sicilian connection. So Badalamenti, who was, talk about him. He basically built Palermo. He built Punta d'Asti Airport. Give us a little bit about that.
Yeah, he comes in power after the boss in his town, Cesare Manzella, dies. He dies. He gets blown up. It was always suspected that it was a power move, and Badalamenti was responsible for that. And after that, he was very good with the politicians, especially for my town. You had Bernardo Mattarello, who's today's president's father.
Correct.
He was from Castellammare del Golfo, and he had an in with Badalamenti, and from there, he ran Sicily. He was the most, actually, you might ask a couple of people, Bernardo Mattarello is probably the most, at one time, powerful man in Sicily, especially after the World War II. He has ties to the CIA. Yep. He has ties to the mob. He has whole of Italy by the balls. So he was a strong ally of Badalamenti, and not only that, in '57 when they meet up in Palermo, they even say that Mattarello was there with Joseph Bonanno. They had met before.
Yeah, Bonanno, the Palms meeting. Bonanno, Luca Luciano, Tommaso Buscetta.
And don't forget Mattarello, who's a politician. What the hell is he doing there? They actually say he might have been made.
Really?
Yeah.
So Sergio Mattarello is the president right now. That's his father?
That's his father, yes.
Yikes. Okay, now.
Sergio is also born in Castellammare del Golfo as well.
Really?
Now he's more, yes, he turns more into like a Bobby Kennedy these days, if you will, after the death of his brother Piacente Mattarella in 1980, and that was because he didn't want to go towards the Todoriana side. This
Correct.
was and he was like straying away, not answering calls. He got killed. Oh yeah, we don't care. Boom, we kill you too. So they killed today's president's brother back in 1980.
That's insane. Okay, so now, so Badalamenti essentially gets pushed out or just basically leaves his power base, leaves Italy. Where does Badalamenti go next?
Okay, there's a lot of stories to this, but we know he definitely went to Spain because that's where he got taken. All right, so Brazil is one spot. We know there was a president in Brazil, and we know that through the testimony of Tommaso Buscetta,
Correct.
who happened to be the equivalent of our Sammy the Bull.
The Don of both worlds.
Well, yeah. Well, different situations, different, but he probably was a bigger rat.
Remind me, I got to tell you a funny story about him and Carlo Gambino, but keep going.
You did. You told me that one. I remember. Yeah. But
let me share.
Go ahead. Maybe people didn't hear it.
Are you mid-thought? Because I'll share it if not.
Go ahead.
All right.
I'm not going nowhere.
So Tommaso Buscetta was a very powerful mafioso. He had to get out of Sicily. Again, this is kind of before the Adina thing. Nobody knows exactly why. He's evidently a distant cousin, allegedly, or very close to at least Carlo Gambino. He finally makes it to New York. He gets picked up at the train station. They give him $500 and they stash him in a hotel. Now, remember, this guy is an old school mafioso, very big into being an uomo di onore, which is a man of honor, and it's a big distinction, right? So he goes back to his guy one day and says, hey, listen, like, not for nothing, but I'm a man of honor. I come to New York and I get $500 and I get stuck in a fucking Hotel 8. Next week, Carlo Gambino throws a big extravagant party for him, right? And during the party, Carlo Gambino, you know how he is, very shy and timid and relaxed, but still the fox, leans over to him. He goes, I heard what you said. He goes, these things take time. We do things differently here. This will be the first and last time you'll speak ill of me. And that was it. He did not say another bad word about the boss. So anyway, so Tommaso Buscetta was linked into both worlds. So eventually, by hook or crook, Badalamenti makes it over to
Spain.
To Spain and then to Rio, correct?
He makes it to Rio, then Venezuela. There's even sightings of him in Venezuela. And then eventually there's anti-Todoriana factions in Venezuela. Yeah. Not many in Sicily because they're just demolishing everybody.
Yeah.
And they're talking about building this pipeline.
Got it. Quick question, not to jump too far ahead. The Pleasant Avenue crew had a pipeline. I think they were with the Genovese and Lucchese. Was that the same Pizza Connection pipeline? I don't think it was.
There's two Pizza Connection cases. Again, labeled by the government. One was a real. It was missing nutrition. It was a very anorexic case. That was the one in '88. They got like all the bums that were left and just arrested them and made a Pizza Connection 2 case, if you will. It was horrible. But no, it could have been that one. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Pleasant Avenue Pizza Connection connection.
Got it. Okay, so Badalamenti makes his way over to Sao Paulo, to Brazil. They don't cover this in the Narcos, but this is what we do here at Mobsters Inc. We deep dive. He meets up with Buscetta and sets up a pipeline. Talk us a little bit about that, and then I'm going to talk about where they get the actual drugs from, which makes it really.
I don't know if he sets up Badalamenti Buscetta set up a pipeline at the time. At the time they met, I think it was more about what was going on. This is you got to remember, Buscetta, his family gets almost annihilated.
Correct.
All right, we all know
his sons,
brother-in-laws, uncles. They just go to town on his family, and they say a lot had to do with the meeting he has with Badalamenti. Was he on the radar? People said not really. He started flapping, and it got back to Sicily that they were trying to make a reassurance. You know, they were coming back and they were going to take over, and Rihanna, the man that he was, the beast, said, "Oh, I'll show him. Yeah, I'll show him. Not only I'm going to start killing his family until he has enough balls to come here and get killed himself
Wow.
for even having my name in his mouth. This is how ruthless this guy. This guy didn't play.
He killed like 13 deep in that family, I believe. Like
it was a lot. I think it was definitely double digits. It was definitely double digits, and he didn't mess around, and it was just because of that meeting in Brazil. And the problem with that was they thought they had an alliance with Kalu.
Correct, Pre-Bocalo, yeah.
Yeah, so he's telling them that we're gonna come down, in Sicilian, Navargonia. They're making us look really, really, really bad. And now we're gonna come back. He went and told them, and he says, "Okay, I'll show you." And he started also eliminating people from Badalamente's side of the family.
Killed like his brother or his nephew. Who did he kill from Badalamente?
He killed his nephew, and then there was Rimi's son, who was a nephew by marriage, because Badalamente's wife is Castella Mediz as well. She grew up with my mother. She used to come to my house to go visit Badalamente when he was in prison. I think it was Ferrington or Memphis. And they know each other since babies, been to the wedding, everything. He got married in my town. And he was also, his brother-in-law was the boss of Alcamo, which is a neighboring town.
Yeah.
And they were married to two sisters. The guy from Alcamo, the nephew of his, nephew by marriage, he was married to two sisters. Their last name was Vitali. No relation to Sal.
Yeah.
But they killed his nephew as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and they killed his nephew as well. So, to my knowledge, I know there was two, but they kind of like cleared house. He was a smart guy down and said, "Let's go, back it up, and let's go."
Real quick, and a fun fact for those people that follow the Cosa Nostra on this side, Gaetano Badalamente got very close to John Riggi in jail. They became at a buona amicizia. They had a very good friendship. Became very close friends. Gaetano Badalamente's English was not great. So probably why he was fond of Riggi. Riggi was a boss in New Jersey, very powerful guy, and they became and set up a friendship. Okay, so now Badalamente sidesteps and says, "I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to create a heroin pipeline. I'm going to make some big money." And it's crazy to where he went to get the pipeline and set it up. Let's talk a little bit about the Middle East and what he did there.
Okay, so they up to today they still are not clear on who's the connection. What they are clear it was coming from that area, especially Karachi. So basically, Karachi is, most of these people know from the our present Afghan war we had in the United States.
Yeah.
Is a port town in Pakistan, and it's close to the border of eastern Afghanistan and western Pakistan, and that was the pipeline from there.
Correct.
Between boats, anything could be bought over there in Pakistan.
All right, hold on. I think you're leaving a little bit of context out of this. So the Mujahideen at that point was getting invaded by.
You're talking about what leads to that?
Yeah, I spent.
Okay, the war.
Well, I'm the nerdy guy, so I'm gonna give the.
I don't like to touch the government involvement that much. I don't want somebody knocking on my door. But
watch. I'm gonna start talking about the CIA.
Right.
Just kidding. But I'm going to touch on it. Enough where they won't bother me, but they'll bother you.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll leave it to this because it's very important, and that's respect I have for the director as well. He's a brilliant director.
Yeah.
And shout out to Nick. But anyhow, stay tuned, and you're going to see there's a special guest on this one, and he is a big government guy, a former attorney general. He can answer the questions I do not want to.
Okay, so let me do it. I'll take the weight on this one. Edward Jimenez. How are you, sir? Okay, so the Mujahideen was getting Afghanistan was getting. Hey, John, great to see you guys. So, hey, Big G, welcome, benvenuti, Big G. Okay, so now the Afghanistan was very important to the strategic military efforts of the United States.
Of course, it was a Cold War.
Correct. So Russia was, and I'm gonna keep this up for a second. So Russia was invading. The CIA gives about $3 billion to them, gives training, gives arms to get them to push out the Russians, and the Mujahideen, which essentially is now the Taliban, wins. Okay, and they push them out. Okay, we'll get to how they screw the CIA in the U.S. in a second. But because of that, it became a shit show, and they needed money, they needed resources, etc.
Drugs for arms.
Correct. So they had the poppy
Right.
made over to Pakistan, and I'm not going to post his name because he was a little too hooked in. Ayub Afridi, who was a drug lord who funneled the pipeline over to the Sicilians. It's a little murky how he gets it there to the U.S., but he gets it there.
Not only the Sicilians, but the rest of the world.
I'm going to go one step further. But the rest of the world, I'm going to go one step further on this. And if I'm missing, just wish my kids well. There is a belief that the CIA may have been someone involved with linking them to, because they needed the money, and the Sicilians had money. They had poppy. They needed some arms. So there might have been a triumvirate. I'll leave it there. So
Okay, and I'll tell you what, even though you want to go there, they asked that same guy who's going to be on this show, the former attorney general. You guys could figure it out. Are the Americans complicit in other wars? Is there collateral damage? Did they make deals with Luke? That's not me. That's him saying that. Correct. Did they make deals with Lucchese back after World War II in Sicily? All right, you guys figure it out.
Exactly.
Watch the show; it's really good.
Quick question: Did Joe Bonanno get? I'm gonna think the answer is no, but I'll ask Frank. Did Joe Bonanno get any envelopes from the Pizza Connection since he started the whole thing?
No, the fuck ain't already giving him money after 68.
Good point.
You think? Yeah, no.
Okay, so now
you're lucky he didn't get killed after that book.
Okay, so this is where I find really interesting, and it kind of gets into my wheelhouse per se of understanding what's going on. So now at this point, we get the drugs from the Mujahideen. We're set up out of either Spain or Brazil, and now we're going to sell it to our Sicilian brethren in the U.S. But what interests me, and this is like I've been in this rabbit hole since like 1995. This is the Pizza Connection was two parts. Sicilian mafiosi here in the United States that were loyal back to Sicily, right? And then U.S.-based mafiosi like Salvatore Catalano and the Bonannos. Give me how the network was set up here in the United States.
As far as he was calling them in, and they were shipping through pizza, marble, luggages, in the airports. People handling luggage in numerous ways. But he was the middleman. You got to remember. And if you know anything about Gaetano Badalamenti, he became a drug dealer real fast.
Real quick, correct.
Okay, he wasn't that guy. And he had to become one. So it was his way of sticking it to Fiordilino. He said, you know what, take that. In the old Sicilian way. And he became a middleman, one of the biggest middlemen in the drug game in the 1980s.
So really quick, Don Vito, Corsicans got knocked out of the box for the most part after the French Connection. That's what we're talking about. Post-French Connection, now the Pizza Connection. And up in the 80s.
Okay. I have very little knowledge about the people in Marseille. But I'll tell you one thing. The Sicilians, back in the day, were the biggest show in Marseille. Bigger than the Corsicans. They worked together.
Correct.
Okay, that's one of those places like Montreal, where there's
groups.
There's different groups that they work together, and the Corsicans and the Sicilians in Marseille, because they got a lot of Sicilians in Marseille, did work together.
Got it. Okay, so now we now import it. We get it to the U.S., right? So I want to bring up. I kind of insisted on bringing him up. Yeah, Pietro Alfano. He's to my left. So if you're watching, your left, and to the right, Salvatore Mazzucco. Now, Pietro Alfano was critical because that was Badalamenti's nephew. He was not in New York. He was in the Midwest, but he also was a Strunz. Tell us a little bit about him.
He liked to talk a lot, obviously, on the phone, because that was the taps that ended up getting Badalamenti caught.
Correct.
They heard a guy on the other side of the phone, very subtle.
Which is Uncle on the phone.
Yeah, yeah, and he's talking about weight, if I'm correct.
Well, they would say shirts, but they knew what it was.
Yeah, and right, these people weren't dumb, and at the time there was a couple of FBI agents who also spoke the Sicilian dialect, and they were putting things together real quick. Actually, there was that one guy. He was in the documentary. He's very fluent in Sicilian. I forgot his name. He's been in a couple of documentaries, especially when it comes to the Pizza Connection documentaries. He's been around, but yeah. So I mean, I'll tell you a story. These guys are they're hoodlums. They're not fucking brain surgeons. So there was one guy, right? He calls his cousin up and he tells him, "Look, I got these 2 refrigerators, which were 2 kilos. Are you gonna you want 2?" He goes, "Yeah, you know what? Give me 2 refrigerators." And then he steps back. He goes, "You know what? Make that 1.5." He wants 1.5 refrigerators. What the fuck?
Make this up.
Yeah, no, you can't make this is true shit. Okay, so that shit. So Alfano definitely fell under those the IQ right there. His IQ was not. Right. He didn't have a savvy street IQ.
I want to give a little bit of an insider knowledge. So you and I were talking on the phone about this, and I think it's fair. Big money was flowing in. Now, the U.S. government estimates that pipeline at $400 million per year. I actually think it was more. That's just my humble opinion.
But I don't know the numbers, Tom.
But you could share this if you don't mind. You were talking about you were working baccarat and card games when the Sicilian mafiosi were making money and what kind of money they were gambling and making.
No. I said no. During that era, I wasn't working the baccarat game. I would go there. My family worked the baccarat game. Yeah.
How about this?
I worked when it started becoming very, very, very not as lucrative. It was not even close. Well, anyway, are you familiar with a Texas Hold'em table?
Absolutely.
And they used to stick hundreds in my pocket. I'm like a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid. So I would go in there. So a Texas Hold'em table, right? Yeah. So picture you don't see the felt.
Yeah.
You don't see the felt. You see all freaking hundreds.
Wow.
All right. Well, yeah, and it'll be like, hey, go get me my bag. Guy come back with a bag in the car. Send his gopher, come back with 100,000. They'd be in there for 2 fucking days straight on Knickerbocker Avenue playing. So I got into the game where all these guys weren't around no more. And, so many short memories and together with stories that were corroborated by guys who were around at that time working the game. Yeah. They were bringing home shitloads of money.
Yeah.
Just working the game. And that was back then. So, yeah, that was the most lucrative time in the baccarat game history. A game that was started by my family in the 60s, late 60s. And I don't know if it's still around anymore, but it was until I got locked up.
Okay, so now the stuff's getting imported. How many pizzerias were roughly involved? I read the book so long ago, so you guys got to forgive me, but I think it was north of 100 different pizzerias, a lot in the Midwest. How many pizzerias would you guess?
I knew maybe of 6. The one in particular was we called each other relatives. We weren't relatives, but we called each other. Was he ran it for Sal Catalano, and that was this guy. His last name was Dr. Mella. He's no longer with us. He had passed. That's why I'm not putting him out. I really actually like the guy too. And he ran the place. That was the Al Dente in Queens Boulevard. That's where that picture is taken where Alfano's on the phone.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a payphone right outside of Al Dente.
Right. So now let's go to the U.S. side let's deep dive there and unpack that a little bit. What Borgata?
You're on the U.S. side.
No, meaning, but what Borgata specifically, or what crew specifically? Because, like you were saying, it was like an open market, right? I'm on Knickerbocker Avenue.
Look, if you're selling drugs and you're selling them cheaper than somebody else, they're going to buy from you. That's what it was.
So who were some of the players on the U.S. side of things that were either Sicilian Cosa Nostra or American LC?
I'm not. There's a lot of guys that are out there. Yeah. And I mean, figure you guys ain't dumb. You guys know your mob 101. Sicilian Zips. and Bonanno and Gambino.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there was regular American guys that would buy from these guys. The Sicilians and the Asians. The Asians had to connect too, but they really didn't, because there was a lot of if you will, a lot of lost in translation. So they really didn't deal with each other. Now, if they grew up together in Chinatown and you had an Italian American third generation and a Chinese second or third generation, they'll deal with each other.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna ask this question you may not know, or you.
I don't know it. I just don't know it. I'm not gonna.
No. This next question, I expect. Wait. So Mr. Alfano, Pietro Alfano, I call him Nostrunz, right? Just not a smart guy. So now 22 defendants went into the trial. One died because he was old. 2 or 3 pled out, smaller guys. One got killed, and then one got shot, which is Pietro Alfano in the village, and allegedly got shot by Patsy Conte, who's the Gambino captain. So now, remember, for the most part, the Gambino family was mostly unscathed because of the pizza connection, within the pizza connection, mostly, right? But why is the Gambino captain trying to kill a nephew of Badalamenti if he's not involved with the case? In your opinion, of course.
Oh, it probably sent there. Well, obviously he's a heroin trap. See, you made me say it. We're talking about Patsy Conte. We all know he was a big time heroin trafficker, and probably had something there he didn't want to be told. He wanted to shut this guy up. There was rumors that he was going to talk as well, if you remember.
Okay, so now they get busted, and there wasn't any turncoats within their actual organization, which is insane. Their turncoats were Tommaso Buscetta. I think Salvatore Cotrono came over as well. So why don't you give a little bit about, and I think it was Giuliani who prosecuted them. So give us a little bit about the Pizza Connection case, and then how it kind of landed.
Well, it was built between both places, and the 2 informants that they did have were Italian. They had on the Italian side, they were the strong informants. But I'm beginning to think, even reading about the case, and I've read about it. I'm feeling that they were taking them on structure, on how the process goes. I think Contorno himself states that he had met Catalano one time, discussing a drug deal, and that kind of put him there. So I don't know. It seemed like it was fucking just grasping at straws. I don't know. That was just what I got out of it. I don't want to sound like some mobsters, saying, hey, you know what? I feel bad for these guys. I hate myself because I'm right, whatever. I'm not that guy. You know who you are. I read it, whatever. I think so. But on that aspect of that case with those 2 guys, Contorno and Buscetta, I think it was a little sketchy. And if you noticed in the case, the main distributor, who's Badalamenti in the case, Buscetta's trying to give him a pass. He's saying, I really don't know him to sell drugs. Yeah. I really didn't know him to be that guy, because he didn't really have a heart on for him. He had a heart for Todorina. They were on the same side. So he was trying to help him out.
Correct.
So there was a lot of, I would have went without them.
Now, you go ahead. Sorry, Frank.
I think they thought maybe they owed it to the government to eventually live here in the witness protection. I don't know what they were thinking, but their roles, I feel, were minimal.
Now, we'll be wrapping up soon, but now,
I gotta go a little bit. We could do a part 2 if you want.
No, we're gonna continue because the Narco Wars is continuing. We're kind of recapping episode 3. But I guess the question I have is, during that time, Knickerbocker Avenue was mostly Bonanno, was big heroin dealers, etc. You were around those guys, or you at least grew up around them and seen them.
I grew up around them. I wasn't around them. I mean,
you know what I mean is, you've seen it. What kind of wealth was coming?
No, in? I was the main guy. No.
In all seriousness, what kind of
me
wealth
and Hootie
was coming in? What kind of wealth is coming in for these guys? And what did you see and
A
observe?
lot. I see the neighborhood turned into Jimmy Breslin called this the White Harlem.
Yeah.
Because he'd hang out in Lakatos on Forest and Grove, which is an Albanian club now, and he'd hang out there, and he'd see all this fucking money. I mean, Ferraris, imported cars, necklaces that you needed to park in a garage at night. Not as gaudy as the rap stars, but just you could tell they reeked money. It was like crazy. They went from being bakers, pizza men to whatever job they had, landscaper. It's a freaking rich real quick.
Now, one thing that wasn't touched on, what did the American Commission think of this? What was Castellano thinking? Tony, these guys, are allegedly out of the drug game. Did they have to, they have to kick up to the American families? What's American Commission or American bosses thinking about all this?
I don't know. I got to be in that mindset. I got to see who was the boss at the time. Yeah. Obviously, the Bonannos were slinging dope. The Gambinos were as well. Yeah. As far as the Genovese, you don't hear much.
Now, just for the rumblings have been out of Pleasant Ave. Like it seems like the heroin dealing for the mafia, for the Lucchese and the Genovese, are out of Harlem, Pleasant Avenue, and that 116th crew. I don't think it's isolated to that, but I think by that point, like Tony Ducks was even saying, we were out of it. I think they kind of made their money, but it seems like they were hands off and a little separate from the Sicilians, as far as I knew.
And as far as I know too, I just don't know.
Yeah,
as far as their involvement in the game, and not only that, out of all the families growing up in my neighborhood, the Lucchese's were really not from my neighborhood. I didn't know many Lucchese's. I knew very few. We were mostly a Gambino Bonanno family. We had a little bit of Genovese there. We had Fritzy in Middle Village.
Yeah.
And as far as the Colombos, they were around. Not the Persico faction, but more of the other faction.
Interesting. And then what happened post Pizza Connection? That's kind of when you kind of were on the street, where they're, remnants of Sicilians. What happened after?
A lot of rebuilding, a lot of the mob. What happened after? Right direct after John Gotti happens.
Yeah.
Everything I thought was mob was new to me. I wasn't really aware of the Italian American factions until then. The double kissing, the hand over the stomach, the all that bullshit. That started getting stupid shit. You had to shave. Where if you go in Italy, they don't shave. Extramarital affairs. That's big.
The U.S. they look the other way. Where in Italy, it's considered vergogna to do that, right?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's bad for business. That was one of them. There was a lot of stuff that differed. Tattoos. Sicilians don't have. When I was growing up, Sicilians didn't have tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm the first one in the family. I got about 25 of them now, but I didn't have them on the street. I think my uncle would have carved it off.
Yeah, I'm getting an FF. Frank Fiordilino here for next show, so stay tuned. But so
I got an app.
I love it. I
gotta hide it. They're like, "What the fuck is it?" So I got an Irish name.
Well,
I got an Irish name in the Witness Protection Program, and people like, "What's the F stand for?" I go, Finian.
Phineas and Ferb. No, no. So I want to let everybody know. So what's going on with both Mobsters Inc. and Armchair, as you kind of follow the arc, is I'm going to be covering the Sicilians a little bit more. I have Anna Sergi later this week. We're going to cover Ndrangheta because they kind of step in where the Sicilians left off, mostly with the coke than the heroin, and become a world superpower. So stay tuned for that. And then I want to cover, and Frank and I got to keep on the line of the narco wars. Are you on the next one? Do you know? To see episode 4?
No, I'm not. That's it for this year.
But you know what was pretty cool? For season 3, episode 3, Narco Wars Chasing the Dragon, Frank is the only ex-wise guy on the actual show. That's it. There was only one. and Frank is it. So it's a good honor to have you.
Ex-associate.
Ex-associate.
Yeah, ex-associate. I want to make that clear. And even in the last one with the Galante one, the heroin Don, it was me and this Frank DiMatteo. I never met the gentleman. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
He also gives insight, you know.
Now, we're going to conclude, but not to beat a dead horse, but you and I were talking earlier. You kind of touched on it earlier, but there's a lot of shows out there that were ex-made guys associates, and some of the guys that did turn pentiti or an informant, maybe kind of glorifying it and making it a little bit more elaborate.
I don't. I'm sick of this shit. It gets me pissed off. It really does. You know, they killed my best friend. Hey, it's job description. It's the fucking mob. It happens. Get over it. Go fucking cry somewhere else. All right. Somebody fucked my girl. That happens I lived in military towns. It happens all the time when people go on deployments. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, did I have? I thought about it for 2 minutes. I said to myself, I don't know. Why did I tell on Joe? Oh, because he killed Caesar and he killed. Not really. I like Joe. And Giorgio, I like Joe. That sounds pretty shitty. Let me be honest. Oh, that's right. I was looking at 27 years and getting deported. Okay, I always say the same shit. Okay, that's the reason. And until they stop like rationalizing that, I really love this guy. He was really good to me, and I hate myself for being a rat. Man, you knew what was gonna happen once you ratted. What, you think they're gonna give you a fucking parade? Stop. Just stop. That's it. I'm aggravated now. Thank you. I got aggravated yesterday. I'm aggravated today. I left my girlfriend at a comedy club. Fucking got me pissed. You know, I'm not confrontational. I left it at. I was good. And that was it.
Hey, Teresa, happy to see you. So, anybody have any questions? We got a few people on.
Hey, Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa's great. We love Teresa. My wife says hi. Teresa's hopefully doing well. I sent you some funny Instagrams. I don't know if you saw them, but any questions, put them below. Again, we'll wrap up. But Frank, I mean, so this kind of brings us
Teresa's like, I talked to a rat. I'm in trouble.
Nah, Teresa's good people. I would say this brings us up to the early 90s. There was a second one, Operation New Bridge, Old Bridge. That wasn't really a heroin pipeline. The Carrazos got tricked up in that. I don't know. I even know why they try to like make that a heroin pipeline. But since then, I don't think.
Well, I'll tell you what, because there's new agents, there's new DAs. They're looking to copy on Giuliani's success.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, let's name it this. This is good. It's like going after the Gaudis in a way, you know. At one time, it was a popular fucking government mechanism. You know, they were arresting anybody with that name. You know, and there's no love laws, but and I don't hate that at all. But you could see where that comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Big G, a sincere thanks. I'm making the sauce the 2nd of September, and I think I have your address, so we'll hook up. I'm going to send you some nice homemade sauce. Frank, I got to send you a jar as well. Frank,
and by the way, have you ever read anything by that? What's the kid? He's pretty good, actually. We don't see eye to eye, but he does a lot of stuff on the John A. Like Facts.
Oh, Chris Casperosa. I had him.
Yes, read his stories, man. He writes up. They're pretty freaking good. I'll give him kudos for that. Pretty good shit. He writes one about the Bay Parkway story, and I read it. It was really good. I'll give him that. You know, that's about it. But he's a really good writer.
Well, so so interesting enough is, and I don't know, I was going to do an unpacking, and I was thinking about it.
I don't know if he's ready to win a Pulitzer, but
well, you heard the story about A-Light and Sugar Daddies?
Yes.
Okay. So I literally had A-Light on my old podcast, audio only.
Hey, by the way, my condolences to John for his daughter, Chelsea. Rest in peace. And I don't really want to talk about John right now. I'll tell you why. He's going through a lot of stuff. Yeah. Let's just leave this shit alone. That's when somebody loses a family member, it's and that's another thing too. I'm telling you, man. I hope what they're doing with that fucking the Gaudis and that poor kid that died in their family years ago. That's fucking sick. That's not good. You're fucking around with the wrong You don't mess around with people's mind, especially when that's disgusting. It is, and I'm not a fan, but I mean, you don't do that shit, okay? That's disgusting.
I do feel,
And they need to get their head fucking busted open. Honestly, whoever put that picture out.
Yeah, I do want to.
I'm not condoning it, but I wouldn't mind if it happened.
Well, I will say this. Number one, rest in peace, Chelsea. John, I text him already. I don't, let him have the time to grieve appropriately. I've been very fortunate where I interviewed John probably about 7 or 8 times. He's always gave me access to him. He was always generous to all 3 shows. So just are sending positive energy and prayers to John. To Angel, Angel knows how I feel about that picture being posted.
That's bullshit.
About her son.
Whoever put that picture should fucking get cancer of the balls.
Well, and also,
fuck that. That was my brother. You better believe I better not catch you. Rat or not, that goes out the window. I'll go back to jail. Well, you're fucking with people's hearts.
Well, that's the other part too. And you and I talk. We don't take sides. We're not on any sides. And
no, it's not about taking sides here.
Exactly. Well,
I don't want to talk about no. I've lost a loved one in my family, I don't want to. That's it. Enough.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, and there was another creator. We're not going to say names. His actual stepson got put up. We got to call real quick before I'm going to end it on that. But we have other stuff for you real quick. We got to call balls and strikes on this, guys. As people that watch, voice your opinion. It's not acceptable, and I'll move it on. Okay. Anyway, so did Frank have any dealings with anybody from Coney Island?
No, I didn't. My cousin had a body shop in Coney Island.
Yeah.
That's the only Coney, and I've been on the Cyclone a couple of times.
All right. Now you were the reason why I deal with Frank, other than him shaking me down. Just kidding. No, the reason why I like Frank a lot, he's that tie into the old world versus new world. He's that cutoff. Tell us your opinion on the Bonanno fight, because that's crazy that happened at the funeral. Okay,
God rest Vito's soul. The guy was like a mentor to me for a minute. He was. This is a guy. I'm not going to get into the actual. I'm talking about Vito Grimaldi. I'm not going to get into the actual melee or whatever. I wasn't there. I'm not in that life. It's 20 years. I'm not in there. I do care because I think it was disrespectful, but at the same time, not my monkey, not my circus. Okay.
Got
it. But this is a man who used to go to everybody's funerals, his employees, people in the neighborhood, and to be disrespected like this, my heart breaks for that. That's the only thing I got on that. It's sad. It's sad.
Okay, I gotta just knock the camera off for a
second.
All right,
I almost gotta go. I got 2 more minutes.
Last one. Any insight on Barney? Because you actually had the pleasure of meeting him.
Good guy, nice guy. Wasn't anything criminal, nothing mobster. We talked about where we're from in Sicily, and he's from Corleone, and he was a nice guy. And every time I seen him, we had a pretty good hello and goodbye. Family man, always was about his family. They come see him. His daughter at the time was studying law, and she'd come see her dad all the time. It seemed that was it.
Love it. All right. So we're going to conclude. Big G, thank you again. You're a big part of the show. You make the show happen. We have some big things coming up this week. We covered Ndrangheta, kind of something related to Escobar. Stay tuned. That's being edited as you speak. And then we're going to.
All right, Tom. I'm losing fucking bad every time.
All right, brother. Be good. I'll close it out. Be good, Frank. Thank you for staying here. Ciao. So, real quick, guys, I'm going to conclude. And I'll give you some updates on the channel. I guess I don't need Frank for that. Oh, wow. St. Anthony's Feast this weekend. Very nice. Soon North End. Would love to come up, Paul. If I can, I will. Would love to be honest with you. So what we got going on this week, we got Anna Sergi, the Ndrangheta expert. Really excited about that. I'm just trying to see what else. This is her book right here, Chasing the Mafia. I'm in the process of finishing it before the interview. The Escobar's wife interview is being edited as we speak. I'm going to probably put that in an armchair with links to Mobsters Inc. They're kind of the new part of the family, so stay tuned for that. And then I got some other stuff in the works as well, which are, I think, some tier 1 interviews that I believe you guys will like. So this is kind of was a quicker one. 45 minutes is always my magic number. which I think works. So I just want to have say special thanks to Frank to being here. I want to thank Big G for the contribution. Everybody in the chat, everybody viewing. We just hit 13,000 subs on Armchair. Thanks to George, who's doing our polls and our shorts. And for now, I really appreciate everything. Have a great day.